Hey guys, welcome back to Mask of the Slasher. We are continuing on with A Cryptid Christmas, and I'm about to introduce Krista to a movie that's been in my family as kind of an inside joke for many years. It is the dreaded Chupacabra Terror. Now, a little bit of background on this one. My grandfather was the most voracious watcher of movies that I've ever known and probably will ever know in my lifetime. There was a local video store where we lived in Iowa, and he had literally rented thousands of movies from this place. They actually one day told us how many it was, and it was just an astronomical amount. This man would watch any and every movie he could get his hands on, mostly horror movies, science fiction, and B movies, but also C, D, and F movies. And one of them that I watched with him was Chupacabra Terror, and it was just so comical that it just became an inside joke in my family for many years. And finally, my family actually bought me a DVD copy of it for Christmas one year, so I've had it for a long time at this point. But Krista has never seen it.
There's a reason. So to say that I'm reluctant to watch this movie is an understatement. See you guys in a little bit.
Yep.
Wish me luck.
See you on the flippity flop.
One eternity later.
Yeah, we just finished watching Chupacabra Terror, sometimes known as Chupacabra Dark Sea.
Yes. Woo. Yeah. So, before we get into my opinions of this movie, I'm just going to go through my normal facts because I have to know where shit comes from.
Right.
And especially cryptids, since we are in Cryptid Christmas.
Yes.
So a chupacabra, it's part of the whole cryptid family.
Yes.
You know, they go to parties together.
Yeah. Conventions.
Conventions,
Cryptid
yes.
conventions.
Cryptid conventions, yes. So a chupacabra, the name itself, it translates into goat sucker.
Yeah.
Which I think is hilarious, by the way. Hilarious. But anyway, it sounds like a metal band.
Totally does.
This is Goat Sucker.
There probably is a Chupacabra metal band out there. I wouldn't be surprised.
We should find out. So anyway, the Chupacabra is a dog-like creature who people think goes and attacks their livestock, specifically goats, and drains their blood and sometimes their organs.
Yeah. Some places that, depending on where you are, some places that have seen it think it looks more like an alien also, I've found out recently.
Which is dumb.
Yeah, because I always knew about the dog one.
Yeah,
But apparently other places they've seen something that looks kind of like an alien or something.
Well, and I was thinking about this the other day. When you watch Coco, the Disney movie Coco, doesn't the dog kind of look like a chupacabra on the other side?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Kind of
Good
strange.
call. Yeah.
So anyway, so the chupacabra, it originally started, this folklore started not that long ago, really, in 1975 in Puerto Rico in a really small town. And what had happened is that they lost some livestock, and they were like, it's probably a satanic cult.
Yeah,
That's what they went to
go
first.
right?
Yeah, it was a satanic
That's
cult.
always where I go when an animal turns up
Yeah.
missing.
I'm like, where's Dottie? Oh,
Yeah.
she must have gone to a
Abducted by
satanic cult.
cult.
Yeah. So, but the town, I'm probably mispronouncing it, I'm sorry, is Mocha. It's Moca. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they referred to that particular creature in 1975 as the Vampire of Mocha or Vampiro de Mocha.
Okay.
So, okay, fast forward to 1995. We're going all the way down. Yeah, that's how far it skipped ahead as far as what I found.
Yeah.
Who know, these things.
Right.
The facts, you
Right.
know. So in 1995, 8 sheep were found dead, and they had 3 puncture wounds in their chest. And they were supposedly drained of their blood. And people are like, aw, damn it. What's going on? They didn't go to satanic cult immediately, which is good. Probably were still like, possibly a vampire,
Still, yeah.
A 3-tooth vampire,
Right.
because there's definitely those out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
All the time. See them all the time.
Yeah. And then within a short period of time, another small town, there was 150 farm animals and pets were killed. All within Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
He really liked hanging out in Puerto Rico.
Crazy stuff going on in Puerto Rico, I guess.
Apparently, So, but I'm going to burst everybody's bubble. Are you ready? Pop. Because we all know, for the most part, that chupacabras are not real.
Do we, though?
We do. Because when you look at pictures of them, they obviously have shape of a dog or a coyote. You can see their spine.
Yeah.
They look toe up from the flow up.
Right.
People say they're scaly, things like that. If you've ever seen a dog with mange,
Right.
that's what they look like, because they are the mange, it's like mites that attack their skin, and it causes them to lose their fur,
Right.
and it causes them to itch constantly, and they kind of lose their appetite. So, and usually if you have a dog with mange, more than likely it's not somebody's pet.
Right.
So coyotes
Yeah.
also get mange.
Right.
And so that's more than likely what we see.
Right.
Or not me, but whatever. If you want to go with the fact that there's chupacabras out there, watch out for your farm animals.
That's right.
Put out some garlic.
Something.
Yeah. Maybe they'd like the garlic. They'd be like, oh, some
Maybe they'd
seasoning.
rather have garlic instead of blood.
We'll never know because people haven't done it.
That's right.
So, but yeah, that's really where the chupacabra stuff comes from.
Right.
There has been sightings elsewhere, also in North America, like Maine. Yeah.
He gets around.
He does.
Chupacabra gets around.
He does. He's just hanging out. So, Now, I first learned about a chupacabra from an interesting source. If anybody's ever heard of the show Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell back in the day, this was a radio show, obviously, on the AM channels. And it was usually late at night. They talked about the chupacabra. They also talk about things like the Dybbuk box and, all these other paranormal things,
Sure.
mostly aliens. And if you want to listen to the show, it's hosted by somebody else now because Art Bell passed away, but it's on Spotify of all places. But you can go back and listen to like the OG stuff.
Yeah.
So where did you learn about the chupacabra?
I've been trying to think about that. I would assume either from, like the Time Life books that we talked about in the Mothman episode, maybe there, or possibly, like a TV show. There are many different shows like, so more, akin to the Monster Quest show that we talked about also, back in the day. So I'm assuming either from something on TV or one of those books, but I don't 100% recall for sure where that came about for me.
Did you want one as a child?
No.
Were you like, man, this chupacabra sounds amazing?
No.
In Iowa? Share your corn cobs with
Hey, there's
them?
plenty of livestock there for a chupacabra to feast on, though,
Yes.
if they wanted to. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
just saying that chupacabra gets around, he could go to Iowa and have a field day.
He could have some soy.
Yeah.
So, okay, there you go. Have you guys ever heard of the chupacabra?
Have you seen a chupacabra?
Yeah. Do you have a dog you've named Chupacabra? So, yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
But going forward, the movie Chupacabra Terror. It's rough. So, with all due respect to Josh's opinion of this movie, him and his family know it's
Yeah, we know it's a bad movie. It's a
Yeah.
joke. It's an inside joke with my
Yes.
family, essentially, as what I discussed in the intro.
Yeah, and that's fine, So I'm just going to go through some stuff real quick. So this movie came out in 2005. It was directed by some guy we've never heard of and has never directed anything else worthwhile. But it stars some interesting people.
Yeah, Jonathan Rhys Davies, who you probably know as Sala from the Indiana Jones films, and he
And-
also gives the
yeah.
the directions in the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland.
That's how I recognized who it was, because I was like, that guy's voice sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's got a very distinctive voice.
Yeah, and I was like, is he the one that gives us directions before we get on the ride? And Josh was like, yep.
Yes, he is. He also is the voice of the Brian King in the Aquaman movies, for something a little more recent that you might have seen. And then you have Giancarlo Esposito, whom everybody knows by now, I
hope
hope,
so.
as Gus from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
He's also in the Mandalorian series on
Oh,
Disney
yeah.
Plus, in which he basically plays Gus in space on that show.
That's what it should have been called.
Gus in space.
There's another guy in there, Dylan Neal. He plays Lance Thompson, who is the U.S. Marshal.
Right.
He's a guy, you know.
He's there.
Yep, he's there.
He's an actor that exists.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Oh, by the way, I don't know how it's possible, but this movie had $1.2 million budget.
I think it all went towards Jonathan Rhys Davies' budget, paying him.
Yeah. Well, and the tiny bit of CGI that they used
Yeah.
that looked like it came from the Tomb Raider game.
Yeah. Our story kicks off on an island, which I don't believe they ever say where it is.
They did, but I didn't pay attention.
Okay. I've seen this movie, even though it's, like I said, it's a joke in my family. I've only actually seen it a handful of times because it's just not very good.
Yeah.
But it kicks off on an island. Dr. Pino, again, is being played by Giancarlo Esposito. He's hunting the Chupacabra. He's got a bunch of hired mercenary type guys trying to capture this thing. They are successful in capturing it with many casualties sustained during that, as one would expect from these type of monster movies. They capture it with a net and a tranquilizer. Very, very standard stuff here. Put him in a cage in a wooden box, and then Dr. Pena pays off the crew of a cruise ship of course.
That just happens to be there.
Happens to be there to smuggle this thing on board. The guys that he bribes to get it on the ship, of course, get curious, as one does in a monster movie. They open up the crate, and lo and behold, El Chupacabra escapes onto the ship, kills those guys, kills many, many other people as well.
Yeah.
The U.S. Marshal that's on there is actually investigating a burglary that happened on the ship, but he, of course, gets roped into this investigation of these people getting killed.
Yeah.
John Rhys Davies plays the captain of the ship. His daughter is played by the Great Value Brittany Spears. So they're all trying to, figure out what the heck's going on. Finally, they encounter this thing. It's not... they shoot it a bunch of times, but it does not go down. It's bulletproof, apparently. And it's the bulletproof Chupacabra.
Yeah, it has a shell, they said.
Yeah.
Called mange.
Yeah, called mange. So, and it kind of looks like a cross between a bat and a bulldog.
Yeah, you know what it reminded me of was Dracula.
Oh, when he's bat form. Yeah.
Anyway.
I do like that it was practical. I have to say that, because a lot of those sci-fi movies, Sci-Fi Channel movies, which this was, they use a lot of crappy CGI in those.
Yeah.
And so I was happy that at least the Chupacabra was for the most part practical, except for when he's crawling on the ceiling and stuff like that. So anyways, a bunch more people get killed. They call in the army or the Navy or whatever. Then a bunch of army guys get killed.
Yeah.
It's just one right after the other. Finally, they decide to use the armor-piercing rounds, which you would think after several encounters where they shoot this thing and it has no effect, they would have done that right away.
Yeah.
But no, of course not. Meanwhile, Giancarlo Esposito, Dr. Pena, he's trying to recapture this thing, and everybody's like, you're crazy, which he was. And then finally he tries to lure it in again with the net and the tranquilizer, except he's using a Great Value Brittany Spears as bait,
Yes.
of course. But he ends up getting killed naturally, as one does in a monster movie. And I do have to add at some point your favorite line from this movie, when at first they're not really telling everybody what's going on, and of course the daughter has to say your favorite line from this movie.
Well, yeah, she's the daughter of the captain. Her name is Jenny, and she teaches Tae Bo. If that gives you a time frame of this movie, she's teaching Tae Bo to the passengers. They have dumb classes on cruise ships,
right?
And so she's technically kind of the crew, but she's not being let on, what's going on, because, she's just the dumb girl or whatever.
Right.
And her and the U.S. Marshal, who originally said he was an insurance salesman, and who kind of has the hots for her and whatever. Anyway, so they go down to be like, okay, what the fuck is happening here? And Dad's just like, don't worry about it. Just stay calm, blah, 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 And she's like, bro, I saw shit. I know what's happening, you know. So she says, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in life. I felt stupider after hearing it.
Dad, what the hell's going on?
Jenny, get back to your cabin.
I'm really tired of getting the mushroom treatment.
Mushroom treatment, what's that?
Being left in the dark and fed a lot of crap. And will somebody please tell me what's going on?
There's some great writing in this thing, I tell you what. Fantastic.
Great writing.
Fantastic writing in this.
Yes. So.
Anyway, it gets down to just one Navy SEAL or whatever this guy is left, and they're like in the engine room, and he just starts indiscriminately firing and throwing grenades.
Yes.
As one does.
Because that would be a great place to do that in.
But at this point, everybody's abandoned ship because they don't think they can kill this thing, So naturally, all this random grenade throwing has totally messed up the ship's guts.
Yes.
And it's going to blow up. As any good monster movie, they have to get out of some place before it blows up.
Yes. Yeah.
Going all the way back to Alien, of course, I think was probably the first movie where that happened. Established that trope, probably. And so, of course, they get off the boat. The ship blows up. We assume Chupacabra got blown up with it, but who knows? It could still be out there. Maybe it can swim. We don't know.
Maybe it can. Maybe it can. And then they have a really dumb ending.
Yeah.
So there's some things about this, though. There's a couple dumb things I'm going to mention in this, aside from that amazing line. So when reading some of the quote-unquote facts about this movie, I learned that this was filmed both on just like a regular boat. It's not a cruise ship. Those are just shots of a cruise ship.
Right.
It looks like a Carnival cruise I went on when I was in like 6th grade, which was horrible. And we didn't even have a Chupacabra on there.
Well, might have been a little more lively.
It might have been, or deadly.
Cruise, yeah.
So, but all the inside shots and all that were at a resort that was shutting down.
Oh.
So, which they did actually a pretty good job of trying to make it look like the inside of a cruise ship.
Yeah.
So I was I wouldn't say impressed.
Yeah, impressed is a strong word for this movie.
It's very strong. But they did the best with what they had.
Right.
So I'm going to start off with bad acting.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, even the main folks in this.
I'd say John Rhys Davies gives a pretty good performance
He's okay.
for what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, for what he has to work with,
Yeah.
But other than that, like even Giancarlo Esposito, not his best work,
No. He just needs to stick to Gus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There is an old woman, I can't talk. The old rich woman who has the little dog. I don't know why this is
Classic
always
movie trope.
Yes, she's snotty
Yeah.
and this little. I mean, the dog was adorable. I have
yeah.
to say, but and then there's who I decided to just refer to in my notes as Mr. Ascot.
Oh yeah, that Kato Kalin looking motherfucker.
Yes, that's what he does look like. It was like a horrible makeup job of a tan,
Yeah.
like somebody we know, and then an ascot. Apparently, every asshole has to have an ascot.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I'm just like, okay, but he ends up being the robber. Oh, I'm sorry, I spoiled that for you.
Yeah, and I feel like his acting is the most offensive.
It is horrible.
In this movie.
It is absolutely horrible. The dog acted better than he did. It was terrible. But yeah, he was the robber the whole time. Yeah. But it's kind of creepy because when they're at dinner, he's like kind of inching in on the old rich lady, and I'm just like,
Probably trying to, the whole marry the old rich person and wait till they for him to kick off so you can get their money type situation, or maybe just a robber,
Yeah, but it was gross.
Yeah.
And Great Value Brittany Spears, Jenny.
Oh, she was rough. Yeah. She's the second most offensive, I think, in terms of acting, probably.
Yeah, she was right next to the extras.
Yeah.
And they were pretty bad.
Ooh, yeah, the extras were terrible.
Yeah. And I understand that some of those extras were actually crew members. Saving on some money, So that's obviously my first pet peeve of this.
Right.
The CGI is for sucks.
Oh, horrible.
And of course the story is just dumb.
Yeah.
On the positive side, the practical effects. There are some halfway decent ones.
Yeah.
Although they had decent blood and guts, when these people would get killed, the acting towards the death itself was like an Austin Powers moment.
Right,
it was just like, just croak already.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, like they'd had like their necks cut open and they could still talk.
Yeah, just gushing blood everywhere, but still able to communicate. I don't think so.
No, and they were crawling.
Yeah.
Still, I'm like, you would have been dead.
Yeah, you'd have bled out right away.
Remember the one guy, the soldier, he had all his guts hanging out, but he was still talking? And I'm like, bro.
I don't think so.
So, another part of this as far as practicality was the guy who basically set himself on fire.
Yep.
Which I guess it was
the final soldier.
Yeah. The rogue soldier.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't supposed to continue this mission.
But he kept going,
Yeah, he kept going. And then, so down in the engine room where he had thrown grenades, some wiring got loose in that. I'm just going to say that if there was a grenade in a ship, it would have blown up. But that's beside the point. And they'd all be deaf.
Right.
But so this wiring gets loose. And then there happens to be the fuel tank.
The fuel tank got shot up. So.
Yeah. So then he's on fire. Now, I understand how fire suits work for movies and that you have to have them and they have screens over their faces. They have a whole thing. I got it. But it looked nothing like Bro in any way. I'm like, you could at least try.
Yeah, and it can be done. We know it can be done because, like, Maniac Cop, he gets set on fire all the time, but he's still got his cop uniform on. You can still clearly see that it's him.
I don't think that they got Kane Hodder for this one, and they really should have.
Yeah.
So that part sucks, but it's the good part of the practicality was the actual suit of the Chupacabra.
Yeah.
The story, I mean, as I said before, the story is that it's technically like a dog or a coyote or something along those lines. But they adapted it to being a man.
Yeah.
I would imagine for money more than any reason. But so there's a bro in this suit, in this foam suit. And I read it, he was one day, like the last day of shooting, he was in it for up to 14 hours.
Oh my God.
And you're in it. It's not a suit you could just pull off and go take a dump.
Right.
He had to hold it.
Yeah.
14 hours. He had some gut rot after that. That sucks.
Major.
So, but the suit itself looked really good, and
it does kind of have a mangy dog vibe to it, They still kind of captured that, I think.
They did a really good job. And the team that worked on this, they have done a shit ton of other special effects makeup for so many movies that I can't even list off right now. But I'm like, was this also a paycheck issue?
Right,
You know,
you
like
know?
they didn't need to do this movie in any way
Yeah.
because their credits before and after were amazing.
Yeah.
Why this one?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, they're talking about in the equally bad making of the movie that's on the DVD. They're talking about how the suit kept falling apart and they had to keep re-gluing it.
Yeah.
So they used their cheapest material
Right,
possible
exactly.
for this.
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
they probably didn't get that much money out of it.
I doubt it. Well, that one guy that's sitting there looks bitter.
Right, yeah.
He looks bitter.
Yeah.
So, but I think that was what I was most impressed with, was the suit itself.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Because although we know it's not real and whatever, the detail on it is amazing. And the fact that it automatically made me think of Dracula and not some schmucko who just came from Spirit, you know,
Right,
Halloween,
right.
that's a pretty big deal right there. I mean, it was convincing.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Yeah.
So, rest of it,
Not so much.
Now, if you like B movies or C or D or going all the way down the alphabet, then you might want to check this out.
Yeah.
Because it's good comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Out of everything. I mean, there are some really lame comedic moments in this.
yeah.
I won't spoil those for you because, oh God, you know. But there were some good stuff.
Yeah, sometimes it's fun to watch a bad movie, and even something like this where it's not a so bad it's good situation. It's a so bad it's bad.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
really is bad.
It's still fun to watch something like that sometimes, just because you can still get some laughs out of it. Maybe get a little altered beforehand. You might appreciate it a little more, and plus, you know, it makes you appreciate the good movies that you see too a little more. I think
Yes.
when you realize that there's stuff like this out there.
Yeah, because this was rough.
Yeah, for sure.
It was
It's a
really
rough go.
rough. Yeah, but entertaining. Still a cryptid.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and when you start covering horror movies that have cryptids in it, you don't expect a lot.
Yeah, you're gonna dive into some rough waters.
Yeah.
Why there are not very many actual good movies about cryptids, I don't understand. Because to me, it's kind of like the serial killer thing. The story is there for the taking, you know.
It's there for the taking, but the effects that are required for it are immense.
True.
Because here they put a dude in a suit.
Yeah.
Because he, you know, they couldn't even make. They'd have to get whoever. What was the guy's name from Willow, who was in Star Wars as well?
Oh, Warwick Davis.
Yeah, they'd have to get him.
Yeah.
And, you know, somebody of that stature, they'd have
Right.
to put somebody in a suit. And then they'd have to crawl around and jump. And
True. Yeah.
it's
That's
not
a
going to
lot.
happen.
Yeah.
So you would have to depend on CGI.
Yeah.
And back in 2005, CGI was for sucks.
Right.
Like I said, it looked like Tomb Raider
Yeah.
most of the time. So, you know, I think it would be difficult, and that's why they're not done.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, look at, you got Harry and the Hendersons, because they couldn't make a serious.
Yeah.
But even Harry and the Hendersons was better than this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What does that say to you? That Harry and the Hendersons was better than this movie? But, I mean, there are movies out there where they have done a really good... The best example I can come up with is American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
Because, werewolves are cryptids.
Yeah.
And, of course, we all know the amazing, you know, transformations that happen
Oh,
in
yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was way ahead of its time.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a huge, huge deal. So I feel like that's the only one that I could really come up with in my brain that I'm like, yeah. I could see it.
Yeah.
Because even in the Mothman Prophecies, it's all CGI.
Right.
You know,
Right.
sorry to burst your bubble on that one. It's not a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
Because that would have looked really dumb. is
Yeah,
what would have
exactly.
happened.
Yeah.
So, you know, give it a shot. If you
Yeah.
need some entertainment, you know, we all know that the holidays can be stressful for folks.
Yes.
Life is stressful in itself right now for a lot of
Yes.
folks. So maybe, you know, have something dumb to watch.
Yeah, it's a good laugh.
It is. It is. You know, get into the eggnog.
That's right.
Don't drink too much of it because I can imagine puking up eggnog's pretty gross.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. But, you know, and then just take a break. An hour and 20-minute break.
That's right. Yeah, it's a quick watch. Mm-hmm. You know, it's
And it's out there on like Tubi.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff, because we've jokingly been like, oh, there it is, you know.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
thank God we have another way to watch this, you know. I will personally say I will never watch this movie again. I have better things to do, like get a colonoscopy. Put bamboo shoots up my fingernail. Any of those things sound much better than watching this movie. It is. But, like we said, entertaining.
Exactly.
It gave me entertainment for an hour and a half, and I could not stop laughing the entire time.
Exactly.
I had a hard time writing because I couldn't see through the tears. So, anyway, have you guys seen this movie?
Yeah.
I'm
Probably
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry if you have.
Yeah.
But if you haven't, go watch it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's just It's just comedy.
It is. It is.
So anyway, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And otherwise, we'll see you next week. Bye.